In this tutorial, I'll show you how you can naturally arrange pebbles in a bowl. It sounds easy enough, but this would actually be very challenging if you had to do it manually. Not to mention it would be extremely tedious, moving and rotating each pebble to make it look like it was a natural occurrence. Fortunately, you don't have to do it manually. Use Reactor to simulate the real-world physics of the objects. We'll assign a weight to each pebble and let gravity do the work for us. I'll start by modeling a bowl. Go to the front viewport and sketch in the cross-section of the bowl using the line tool. I'll set both initial and drag types to smooth and sketch in the bowl cross-section like that. I'll go over here and maybe make some adjustments to make that look nice and smooth. And then I'll go to the spline level and outline that to create a double-lined representation so that the bowl can be visible both inside and out. I'll zoom in up here and go to the vertex level where I'll select these two vertices. Fillet those together to make a nice curve at the top of the bowl. Note that there are two vertices here now. Weld them together to clean up the cross section. Also, delete this segment and move the vertex over so that it's directly below the other one. Maybe I need to pull the handle up just a little bit so that the bowl is flat. That's good. Now I will assign the lathe modifier to create some geometry. Use minimum alignment and weld the core. Go into perspective and set the number of segments to 50. Now we have a nice looking bowl. I'll rename it and move on. Let's model a pebble by creating a box primitive about that big with one segment in each direction. Convert that into an editable poly because you can subdivide the surface very easily. Use NURBS subdivision and set iterations to 2. You'll have a nice smooth pebble. Rename it Pebble and move it into the bowl. I'll move it up just so that it's not intersecting the bowl at all. Now in the front viewport, I will copy this up a short distance and I'll make 20 instances of the pebble. Now I'd like to select every other pebble. Go to the Select by Name dialog box and hold down the Control key and just click every other pebble. Move these over slightly. I'm doing this because I don't want the pebbles to balance on each other. Rather, I want them to push each other apart as they fall into the bowl. I'll select all the pebbles and instance them again over here. Maybe I'll move that up a little bit and maybe do it even one more time. I'm not sure how many pebbles we need, so I'll just make lots of them. Go into perspective and zoom out. So we've arranged the rocks so that they will fall with the force of gravity into the bowl. To simulate this, we need to create a rigid body collection. Go to the Create panel under Helpers and choose Reactor. We're just scratching the surface here of what's possible with Reactor. I'll create a rigid body collection and just click a point on the screen to insert that icon. This is just a placeholder for this rigid body collection. Rigid bodies don't deform, they merely bounce off each other. And that's what we want here to simulate the pebbles. I will add all the objects except for the rigid body collection itself. You don't want to add that to itself. It can cause a problem. So I'll select everything that we've modeled, and now it's defined properly as a rigid body. Reactor has a menu up here that you can use to create this as well. And I'll open the property editor next, which is this floating dialog box. I'll select the bowl and give it a mass of 10 kilograms and set it as unyielding. Now this is very important because it means that the bowl will not move and it will not be affected by gravity. Then I'll select all of the pebbles. Now I happen to have 63 of them. And I will set their mass at 0.1 kilogram. They're not very heavy. There's one other thing I forgot to do, and that is to set the simulation geometry. The pebbles can be simulated as mesh convex hulls, but the bowl is different. It's a concave mesh in this case. So I need to do that. I need to set that up. Okay, so I've given the properties to the objects. They will now behave appropriately when we run the simulation. To do that, go to the Utilities tab and open up the Preview and Animation Rollout under Reactor. Click on Preview in Window to open up a window interface which will allow us to run the simulation. Here it is. Now to speed up the simulation, I'll go to Performance, and right now the default is 30 frames per second with 10 sub-steps. That's actually 300 frames per second in a manner of speaking. I'll set this at 1 sub-step to speed that up by a factor of 10. And then let's cross our fingers and hope everything goes well. We'll play the simulation, and you'll see the rocks fall into the bowl. Oh, and a few of them fell out. That's okay. We'll just give it some more time for the rocks to settle down and find their resting positions. And then I will pause the simulation. Over here on the Max menu, I will say Update Max. And then I will close the windows, and the rocks appear as they did in the preview window. Now, this is a large bowl. We might want to run this with a few hundred rocks, but that's a good start. Look down here. Those are those rocks that fell out of the bowl. I'll select those and delete them. You could do this again. You could make some more pebbles and drop them into the bowl until you're satisfied with the natural placement of those within the bowl. So there you have it, your Reactor tutorial.